The rich heritage of Mount Panorama Bathurst dates back to 1938, when Englishman Peter Whitehead won the Australian Grand Prix on the dusty and rutty mountain road known then as Bald Hills. 28 years ago, Bathurst became home to what is now known as Australia's Great Race. Initially a 500-mile endurance contest for showroom production cars, it changed in 1974 to a 1,000k metric marathon. During those early days, few of the Panorama pioneers were distracted by side issues such as circuit safety. However, between these cement corridors, the risks are great. Men like Bob Jane and Harry Firth, who won the first classic in '63, return each year to soak up the atmosphere and keep a watchful eye on their contemporaries, including Alan Moffat, Peter Brock, Freddie Gibson and Colin Bond. Then there are those who wait to write their own chapters of mountain history. The young guns who cannot believe the vice-like grip members of the old firm have had on this race and this place. Handy guide to what Team Nissan had in mind for the rest of the week. The two Gibson Motorsport GTRs came out firing with low 14-second laps, closely followed by Glenn Seton's Peter Jackson Sierra and the GIO GTR of Sydney speedster Mark Gibbs. By Thursday, Mark Skaife and Jim Richards were into the 13s, and on Friday, the 12s. Picking up the pace caused problems for some like Kiwi Kane Scott, who had a lose at Repco but recovered. Not so on the exit to the cutting, where he got out of shape and clouted the concrete, giving the tape crew work they didn't really need. Despite a couple of mild spins and a little body contact, the qualifying sessions were remarkably free of the usual crash and carnage. So here's how the top 10 will line up today. Skaife and Jim Richards and the number 1 Nissan from pole. 2, the GIO GTR of Gibbs and Rowan Onslow. 3, the Peter Jackson Sierra with Seton and Greg Hansford. 4, the number 18 Shell Sierra of John Bow and Terry Shield. 5, the pride of Queensland, Dickie Johnson and Kiwi Paul Radisich in the number 17 Shell Sierra. 6, the Mobile 05 Commodore of Peter Brock and Andrew Madecki. 7, the number 2 Nissan of Drew Price and Gary Walden. 8 is Larry Perkins and Thomas Maziran, the number 11 Mobile Commodore. From 9, David Parsons and Wayne Park in the Peter Jackson Sierra. And 10, the defending champions Wyn Percy and Alan Grice in the Holden Racing Team Commodore.
That is the best start there is I've ever heard.
Jimmy Richards in the number 1 car sits there. Pictures from our pole cam that we'll be able to bring you beneath the cars during the pit stops.
Well, the big advantage, of course, that the Nissan people and the Brocks and the Moffats and the Setons enjoy is the fact that when the flag drops, their script doesn't go out the window like it does with a lot less experienced and less well financially supported teams, I guess. They've got a plan and they'll stick to it right through the day and they'll cope with whatever might go wrong.
Not too far off the start, about 10 seconds away from the 1991 Great Race. The 7 Network welcomes you to Bathurst. The 29th edition of the Great Race. They're racing off the starting line. We take chopper cam, and you can see that Mark Gibbs has absolutely stonewalled them off the start. And in fact, it wouldn't be surprising to see whether Dick Johnson has been able to get up on the outside. Jim Richards missed the kick initially, but they're all through the first turn and heading up Mountain Straight now for the first time. No incidents through past the sand trap. And Mark Gibbs, the young Sydney driver, driving for Bob Forbes Racing in the GIO Nissan. There he is, out in front. Jimmy Richards back in third, and it looks like a great start from Dickie Johnson or John Bow.
Nissan Ford as they head up the mountain for the first time. A poor start from Richards, but he did get it going. Look at this, the GIO car of Gibbs Onslow. These young guys have got a lot to prove, and they would be rapt to be leading the first lap of this race.
And Glenn Seton coming back after a tardy start, slipped from 3rd position on the grid back to about 9th, but has recovered a few places already.
You can't win this one in 1 lap. But Mark Gibbs is sprinting. The 2 Johnson Sierras, 2nd and 4th, split by Jimmy Richards, and wait for the crowd to acknowledge Peter Brock and the Holden set at the top of the mountain. Here's Richards sitting in behind Johnson.
There's the second of the Nissan GTRs, the Price Walden car. Peter Brock just ahead of him, holding up the Holden flag on the first lap around.
Coming down towards the dipper The exit from there. Win Percy up with them. Beautiful shot from our chopper at the top of Mount Panorama as they run down towards Mazda Forest Elbow. And an incident-free start to the event as they work their way now onto Conrod Straight for the first time. One of the early ones out car number 32 with a head gasket problem in the pits already.
Bobby Tyndall. Big disappointment for him.
Yes, they would be. That's the GIO car that's cross-entered for Gibbs and Onslow, so they haven't got another car to fall back on. But boy, if they got the pedal down in this opening lap, they've opened about 100 metres on the field as they come through Caltex Chase the first time around.
Notice one of the Moffat cars already up alongside Win Percy, and down on the brakes comes Jim Richards, takes the number 18 car. Dick Johnson sits in behind as they strike off the first lap here at Mount Panorama. Mark Gibbs driving for Volt Forbes Racing, and the Nissan, sponsored by GIO, will lead them up Mountain Straight for the second time.
Nissan first and second, then the two Shell Team Sierras, followed by the second of the Nissan team cars.
They go beneath the Nissan bridge. What a beautiful start. As we take our race cam with Dick Johnson, he got away very smartly behind them, and it was John Bow up on the outside who was able to slot into second place behind Gibbs, then Richards, then Johnson. That was the order off the start in the opening lap.
Drew Price looks anxious to go faster in behind the Shell Team cars too, as the others at the front are getting away. Gibbs pursued hotly now by Jim Richards. Once he got past Dick Johnson's, opened up quite a space.
Once again they exit Forest Elbow. Bow, Johnson, and the other Nissan, of course, trying to pass the pair of them down Conrod Straight. Absolutely flat strap there.
There we are, as we expected, the two Nissans making a break on the field. Richards has certainly closed the gap on the Gibbs Onslow car. Two Shell Sierras locked in there, the third of the works cars, as they filed into Caltex Chase.
And you can see the gap there too. About 150, 200 metres back now to the third, fourth and fifth cars. Gibbs being hauled in rapidly by Jim Richards. Richards, I think, anxious to get to the lead. Nose to tail, the next half dozen. Glenn Seton going through. Neil Crompton, or Brad Jones rather, in the number 7 Holden dealer team car.
Well, the beauty for Jimmy Richards here is that he's got a second car to fall back on if something goes wrong with this car, so they can really use the lead car as the hare and make all the tortoises follow.
Dice for the lead now as Mark Gibbs in the GIO Nissan is passed by Jimmy Richards on the outside. Richards sneaks up, takes the lead away. Gibson will now fall in behind. They have already established quite a break over the rest of the field. The exit from Repco Corner, and they work their way now towards BP Cutting. And I would think, and probably Mark Gibbs is not too disappointed about that. He can sit in behind Richards, watch what he does, and he's clear of the traffic.
Drew Price has taken the 17 Shell car, moved up one slot.
Johnson just ahead. Peter Brock, a master at this. And as they exit Mazda Corner, it doesn't require too much in the way of commentary. Just listen to that awesome V8. Thought you were travelling quickly with Brock, and then all of a sudden Glenn Seton just blew by him. We'll stay with Brock because he has Win Percy and he is just a pass master on Mount Panorama.
Glenn Seton, the man on the move, has cleaned up Brock at the end of the straight, now looking after one of the Shell cars. Very impressive first few laps from Glenn Seton in the Peter Jackson Sierra, the man who's been on form all year, finished fourth in this year's Australian Touring Car Championship. The car has seemed virtually bulletproof all year.
Last
Bathurst.
lap for Jim Richards, 2:18.
Look at this as Glenn Seton on the inside. Here he comes. Car number 30 through on the inside of Dick Johnson. He may have missed the start, as Gary pointed out. Wow, straight over the top of the track cam is Jim Richards, the exit from Mazda corner, and he now works Conrod straight. That's the gap back to second. Mark Gibbs, a little taily coming out of there, then followed by John Bauer. Next one is Drew Price. Then Glenn Seton and those bunch of Holdens right behind him. One of the Corollas just down a lap already as Richards sprints down Conrod straight. Here comes Seton down the outside of the Sierra.
We've got car 7, the second HRT car, in the pits. Looks like a regulation tyre change.
The approach shot now to Caltech's Chase, where they are absolutely flat strap. Now down on the brakes through the gears. When Percy closes up on the tail of the Pride of Queensland, but gets it sideways. And out goes Percy. Will he hit the wall? He saves it. Brakes are locked on. Percy has been able to save that, the 16 car.
But there is damage on that front right-hand guard. Look at that. The tyre is almost rubbing there. That is expensive for HRT. Let's see if Percy comes into the pits.
Well, he should come in immediately.
Yeah, the tyre is rubbing. You can see smoke coming off the front tyre, but he's going to do another lap. Now, this will be critical to the result of this car in this race. I'm sure he's not aware that he has this problem. And if he cuts a tyre, he is in big trouble.
Jim Richards continues to lead the race. John Bauer running second. There's been another change behind them, though. Glenn Seton is in third spot. Now Mark Gibbs dropping back to fourth. The gap between first and second, Richards to Bauer, is only 10.9 seconds. Race cam in the Bond, Crosby, Caltech's Sierra. Hot in pursuit of Charlie O'Brien in the Synovus entry at the bottom of Conrod Straight. Take the left-hand turn now into Pit Straight. This is where they all started from not so long ago.
Well, this will give you at home a great view of the circuit here at Mount Panorama. Time for the pit stops, and here comes Wyn Percy in car number 60. John Brady, see Wyn taking the belts off already. Take it away, Johnny Brady.
Thanks very much, Mike. It's a scheduled stop. They're pretty happy with the way things are running at the moment. Alan Grice hopping inside the car now. They've been pretty happy with the way they've been able to get the car going over the last couple of days, and it seems to be running okay up there. There are a couple of little troubles early, a bit of fender damage from that earlier mention that we had. They're just doing a bit of pedal beating up front, but they're out now, and it's a pretty quick stop. Fuel just going out, and Alan Grice back on the track.
Thank you very much, John. That was a quickie too.
That was a super duper stop. Done it 22 seconds?
Yeah,
21 seconds,
And
yeah.
as you can see, Larry Perkins also in the pit. Wyn Percy sixth when he came to the pits. Grice now in the car rejoins in 11th place. Hope you can keep track of all this.
Well, it all happened so quickly. Oops. Now Thomas Mazera has stepped into Larry's car. Very talented young driver, Thomas Mazera. There's Jimmy Richards, car number 1. Is bound for the pits, and here he comes. The two cars still sitting in there stranded. Peter McKay is down there. Jim already slipping the belts off. Take it away, Pete.
Thanks, Mike. Yes, it's a scheduled stop. Refueling. I nearly went through on the bottom of an Nissan, managed to escape that. There is a wheel hub rolling around in the middle of pit lane, but I think it's one from the Jim Richards car.
Any problems you've been able to find out about the Drew Price number 2 car?
Mike, Fred Gibson said they couldn't find anything wrong. Drew reported the car was wandering around coming down Conrod Straight, and he made the precautionary pit stop to check on it, but the boys couldn't find anything, and Fred thinks it could be just that the tyres are cold, and he sent him back out for another check.
Richards, of course, came into the pits leading the race, handed over to Mark Skaife. He has now rejoined the event running in 4th position. So that would put the young Victorian, Glenn Seton in the Peter Jackson Sierra, up into the lead, car number 30.
Reasonably slick stop that was too for the number 1 Nissan, just under 30 seconds.
Yes, Seton leads from Mark Gibbs in the GIO Nissan GTR, followed by Dick Johnson, and then Wyn Percy and Tony Longhurst. Well, Longhurst now in 5th position. Obviously, he's getting the benefit of these early pit stops from the other teams.
And after a frightful season of tailgating the Nissans and some problems with trying to make the Sierra very competitive, Queensland's favourite son now finds himself leading the great race.
He certainly has had some tough times in the Australian Touring Car Championship over the last 3 years, but his finishing record in Sierras at Bathurst is surprisingly good. He was second in 88, he won the race in 89, and one of his team cars at least was second here last year.
Brad Jones has just got out of the Holden car, and Neil Crompton has just taken the seat. He's a little bit concerned that they've been pushed down the order for this routine stop because of that early stop they had on lap 4 when they clipped the wall going up through Caltech's chase.
We'll see if Neil can hear us again. Can you hear us, Crompton?
Hello, is someone speaking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you.
Oh, hello, boss. How's it going?
Not too bad, son.
Is that check in the mail?
It is, and we love you.
How's it going over there?
Bradley Jones handed the car over. I won't ask you how it feels because it's a familiar lap for you. But you've crept up into the top 10, and he said the car felt reasonably good.
Old Beast feels all right, although he's done a bit of a job on the wheel alignment. Thanks, Brado. Yeah, it all feels okay. It's good to have a steer. I hate standing around. We'll get past this smouldering you-know-what. These blokes have been an accident going somewhere to happen all week. And there it is again. Holden power.
05, the Peter Brock Mobile Commodore is in trouble. Andrew Madecki at the wheel. He's stopped on the climb up toward the cutting.
He's got nothing going there.
No. That 5-litre V8 is dead as a doornail.
And that's the Sala Lusty car. Another Sierra that's lost a wheel by the looks of things.
Well, they've had considerable problems with this car today. They had turbo damage earlier that kept them in the pits for a considerable while. Shuffled them right back to the back of the field, and they're in serious problem. Can't see until they come around the next curve what the problem is. Front right, by the look of it, it's either missing altogether or very... it's missing altogether, all right.
Ooh, there's doing some damage there. Lower ball joint on the suspension being ground away. And they might have troubles when they get back into the pits. There'll be a lot of work there.
I'd like to know who's supplying the wheels and tyres for car 44, because I think at last count it's been through 3 of them.
That's right, and both team cars have lost a wheel. 05, by the way, Peter Brock's car is now in 33rd place with Andrew Madecki at the wheel. Car 4, the GIO Nissan, currently running in 6th position, is due in 2 laps for fuel, tyres and a driver change. So here is the race leader, hard on the heels of the Synovus Moffat entry, car 10. Gianfranco Brancatelli at the wheel of the leader of those 2 cars. The race leader, of course, is the car behind. And Mark Skaife, the man who picked up $15,000 for winning pole position here for this race. Car 10, by the way, is in 9th place and about to be lapped by Skaife.
They're an awesome machine, John, the GTR.
They are. They're awesome. It's just to see whether they've got the endurance to last the distance here.
Well, the 11 car is going behind the pit wall. Larry Perkins, Thomas Mazera. That challenge is over. Oh, now we have the Mark Gibbs, Rowan Onslow GIO Nissan.
Scheduled stop.
Yep, was running in the top 6. This will give you an idea of how close they go to the walls here. We'll stay with this across Skyline. See just how quickly over the white line. Coming up to Tooheys turn. Left hand a kink here. Now the track dips away to the right here. The fast line is the inside, just almost shave. Conrod straight, Dickie Johnson. You're killing him, son.
Mate, I can sort of kind of hear you. It's not all that good, the reception, Mike, but we're just pressing on regardless.
Well, that must give you some heart after a pretty wretched season in the Touring Car Championship. You found all that consistency on one day.
Well, we had so much drama in the lead up to this race you wouldn't believe, and thank heavens we found what the problem was prior to the race, because it was a fairly serious sort of a problem, which was, as you know, electrical. That we had interference in our computer, and it was blowing engines for us, which is not a nice thought. And there's Crompton's car stopped on the side of the road.
Whoops.
Yes, Neil Crompton, Brad Jones, number 7, the second of the HRT team cars, getting pushed to the side of the road.
What happened, son?
We're out of gas. Very high-tech problem.
Oh.
Switched the reserve on as we came up pit straight. That was the first indication of the car coughing, and she only made it to the cutting.
Hasn't been the best of races, has it?
You have to keep grinning though, don't you?
Yes, grin and bear it. You were running 12th on the road. Park it safely and walk back. Well, here comes Dick Johnson. Ready to come into pit lane. Getting ready. You'll notice when he straightens the car up, the belts will come off on the run-up pit lane now. There you go. Belts are released.
Dick Johnson coming in 2 laps ahead of schedule.
Here's the Nissan number 1.
The car in first place comes in for another scheduled stop, and by the sound of that air gun, they're hammering away on that front wheel nut. Doesn't seem to be coming loose.
They've been on that one for a while.
Well,
Back one's okay.
They're still going. Well, there's problems here.
Oh, there it goes.
So, new wheels and tyres on. A little bit of oil leaking out there out of the, looks like the hydraulic floor jack. It shouldn't affect the running of the car at all. But the engine's fired. Back down on the ground. 40 seconds.
After that pit stop, Nissan rejoined in first place, but we've got problems for the 17 car, John Bow.
Oh dear. Smoke pouring from the front left-hand wheel.
That's looking fairly terminal. And that's looking even worse.
Yep, the Seton car was coughing and spluttering its way out, and it hasn't even made it out of pit lane. I can see the Peter Jackson pit crew running up the end of the pit lane to pull it back. Oh, look at this. Smoke pouring out the inside of the cockpit of the 17 car. John Bow getting covered in smoke and fumes. The wheels shaking, obviously a problem on the front left-hand corner of the car. But he's only a couple of 100 metres from pit lane, so he should make it back. Well, that's quite a barbecue in the 17 car. Meanwhile, car 18 comes in.
This is going to be good when 17 arrives.
Yeah, we're going to have 2 Shell Sierras, or one of them at least, not on a scheduled stop. And Johnson's recent bad luck continues. 1991 has not been his year.
Well, that's shades of last year, isn't that bad luck? Dave Barrow.
These guys
clouded that on the wall, hasn't turned, and now the 43 car straight off into the sand trap.
Goodness me, these 2 cars had a heck of a day.
Brian Bolwell, who put the package together, has wound up with some rather expensive repair bills. Queensland Plastics entry. Bad luck to Brian as we take our race cam. Sitting on top of Colin Bond's Caltech Sierra, car number 8.
Car 8 running in position 8, so Bondi sitting in the top 10 for most of the day. Had a few problems earlier on, but managed to get it together, and the car seemingly running reliably now. And there's our other race cam looking down the side of the Sierra.
Going into today, it must have been frightening, the pressure on you, because everybody knew you were so fast. Everyone's expecting you to go out and do what you've done so far. But knowing that all that pressure was on you must have been hard to live up to.
Yeah, there was lots of pressure, but you know, the team's done a fantastic job this year. Not just today, they've done a good job all year, and you know, the preparation of the cars has been fantastic.
Have you pushed the car yet in this race?
We haven't really driven that car as hard as I just drove the car too, but you know, that car you know, has been faultless all day. We both, every time I got out of the car and I've said to Jimmy, what's the car like? He said, oh, it's fantastic, drive it again, Skaife. So it's been really good.
I'll keep your fingers crossed, your toes crossed, and I hope it goes well for you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, JB, and thank you, Mark Skaife. Blimey, I don't believe it. Fred's broken into a smile. As Jimmy Richards comes down at the end of Conrod Straight.
Well, 10 years ago, 1981, Nissan began their campaign for outright honours at Mount Panorama.
Last lap board out. There's Gentleman Jim. Looks for Bathurst victory, number 4. To the end of pit straight. Now up the mountain for the final time in the order. Oops, we've had one go off. Looks like the Duhlman car there off on the side of the road. Little BMW. It was running second in its class. Yes, it's parked on the side of the road. So the order is Richards over Wynne Percy, Alan Grice, and Mark Gibbs, Rowan Onslow, as Bondi trying to limp round just to finish this lap off. Still running in 8th. This would still be a lonely time for Freddie Gibson to be so close, but we've seen things happen. Fred can remember leading one of the races here, popping a tyre and winding on his lid at Skyline. But the crowd should be ready to salute Jimmy Richards. And that they do, as he heads down towards the 2WS sweeper for the final time. And here he comes. A great cheer for Gentleman Jim on his way to victory. And what a great year, the Australian Touring Car Championship. He's had to fight the young Turk, Mark Skaife, that has been groomed well and truly by Nissan. But with Mark in the car for pole day sprints and pole position for the race, and Jim there for the victory, somehow it all seems fair this afternoon at Bathurst.
Yes, when you think of the long list of Bathurst campaigns by this company, drivers like George Fury, Glenn Seton, Terry Shield, Gary Scott, boys who've all been aboard Nissan products at one stage or another, always coming very close, but never close enough. Well, looks like they're going to do it. And it's certainly well-deserved. Nissan, a long-time commitment to motorsport in this country and around the world, and they certainly deserve the success at Mount Panorama today.
Down to Caltech's chase now for the final time. A smile breaks out on the face of Fred Gibson. Anticipation on the face of Mark Skaife. The run down to the final corner. Here he comes. The very last corner of the 1991 Tooheys 1000 at Mount Panorama, Bathurst. Checkered flag, Jim Richards, Nissan, that's his car. The whole exercise has been worthwhile for Fred Gibson Motorsport. Jubilant scenes as Jimmy Richards heads up Mountain Straight. Jim would love all of this. Wynne Percy, Alan Grice will finish second in the Holden Racing Team Commodore. Third place will go to Bob Forbes Racing, the GIO Nissan GTR of Mark Gibbs and Rowan Onslow.
Fred Gibson, congratulations. Thanks, Cameron. Thanks very much. It's been a long time here. That's what we come here to do, is win the race, and hopefully today we were going to do it, and we have done that. So, I feel pretty happy for the team. They've done a super job the last week. We haven't had many troubles. I feel a bit disappointed with the second car not finishing, but one home's good if it wins it.
The winners outright of the Tooheys 1000 for 1991, Jim Richards and Mark Skaife.